Catholic Views. In the studio with me today is Father Joe Vogel. Welcome, Father Vogel.
Good to be here. Very good to be here.
Yep. This is going to be fun because we invited Father Joe Vogel in to tell us the story of how he got his call to the priesthood. And he's telling me it's a good story. So all stories from Father Vogel are good. So I have to assume.
Everybody's got a great story, though.
That's true. Everybody does have a great story. So, okay. Father Vogel, will you first start by telling us a little bit about where you grew up and your family?
I grew up in northeastern South Dakota, really right in the middle of Aberdeen here in Watertown.
Okay.
Two little towns of Dolan. I grew up between Dolan and Turton.
Oh, okay.
Which would be west of Watertown.
Yep. I'm from Watertown originally.
There we are.
Yeah.
And I went to grade school in Turton, little small school in Turton, 6 in my class.
Wow.
And then went to junior high and high school in Dolan.
Okay.
I'm from a huge family. My mother's one of 10.
Oh, wow.
My dad's one of 8.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, I do have 75 first cousins.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm not from a family. I'm from a herd.
Everyone knows when your family's around, right?
Yeah, I'm one of 8. And they've had 26 nieces and kids.
Okay.
And those 26, I think, are up to 43 or 44. So
wow.
family means so much to me.
Yeah, obviously.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Get together quite a bit and talk to each other and text and all that. So.
Sure. So you went to school in, you said Dolan.
Well, Turton grade school and Dolan high
Dolan.
school. Graduated in 69, yep.
Okay. And did you go to college then after that?
Yes. I went to college in Brookings.
Okay. Go Jacks.
You bet. It's a great, blue's good.
Yeah. And what did you go to school for?
Well, I started in engineering because I like math and science.
Okay.
But after a year, I thought, I'm not made to sit at a desk.
Yeah.
And the grades were good, but I just thought, and so I second year, took one of everything. Psych. We never had psychology in Dolan. We never had sociology, animal science, and whatever. And halfway through, I thought, study groups of people, sociology. And I knew I wasn't made for a desk. And so I got my degree. And when I was in college in Brookings, I was in ROTC.
Okay. Yep.
And my plan was after college, I wanted to travel, and Vietnam was near the end, so it was a little bit safer. And I wanted to see the world, and I knew I would be married and have a bunch of kids. Mm-hmm. There was no thought of priesthood as a kid. My brother Terry thought about it. We kind of practiced all that sort of stuff. And but
you played church when you were kids, like the rest of us, right?
Yeah, the little Necco wafers for communion, and I wasn't opposed to it. We had a priest that visited, but it was a little bit scary, and just be nice when Father's here. And
right. So what did you do after college then?
I was commissioned in 73, and I was a policeman in the Air Force with a degree in sociology.
Okay.
And I went to Montana for 2 years, guarding missiles, the missile sites in western Montana. Then I ended up in Thailand.
Oh, wow.
If you know a little history, I was there a week after Saigon fell.
Oh, my.
Which was scary. That was about the scariest place, just because a lot of thieves and drug running. And, and my cops were drug running and all that normal stuff.
Sure, normal stuff. Normal stuff everybody does and goes through.
Yeah. And then I went to England for 2 years. Lovely assignment. Mm-hmm. Then I went there for to graduate school in Sacramento, California, for a degree in criminal justice.
Oh, wow.
And then engaged to be married while I was there.
I did not know that.
Yeah, we had a date set, and it was a wonderful thing. But I was 26, she was 30, and I was just too stubborn. I kind of wanted my way all the time, and
she probably didn't like that after a while, huh?
Well, it would kind of balance. She's about as stubborn, which means we should not have been married. And it felt, the sun's not going to shine and all that stuff. And then I went 3 years to the March Air Force Base in Riverside. It'd be east of L.A.
Okay.
But I grew up really Catholic. We were 10 miles. I love telling this story. We were 10 miles from town, and we were never late for church, and we were old people early. Like 15 minutes. So I tell anybody who tells me we can't get to church from across the street on time, I don't buy it. 8 kids, 10 miles out.
Yep. You can get to church on time.
Old people.
You really can. Old people early. I've never heard that.
Yeah. But my year in Thailand was just not good.
Sure.
I just wasn't going to church and then boozing and women and England was a little bit more. And I would say it was, in one way, I'd say it's a very good thing because I know I'm capable stupid or whatever. You pick your word.
Right.
But I know mercy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we could be lots of places, but I know you don't have to stay there.
Right.
And just so it's, and I love the line, make friends with your sins. Because eventually we should say, I'm in church, I'm a church leader because of my sin and my knowing God's mercy and the people that loved me when I was goofy. And so that's really developed a passion in me to meet people where they are.
Sure. Yeah.
Because if you can do that, you're believable.
Right. Right.
If you think or act like I've never sinned, that smells.
Yeah, people don't buy that.
Not reality.
No.
Yeah. So, but it was quite a journey getting back into, because you go to church for a couple of years.
Right.
And how I started coming back is after the engagement at work, and I moved to that base in Southern California. The people at the base, March Air Force Base, the full-time people and the volunteers in the military, they had the most fun being holy. They just made God look good. We had more parties, and we didn't adopt a refugee. We adopted 110 of them, and it was just, and then another party, and it's like, welcome more people. And it was home away from home.
Right.
And I really have thought about it. I think why I needed to move so much is I needed to know I could live anywhere on my own. And then if I ever choose to come home, and I could tell you right where on the interstate driving from Sacramento to Southern California where I was, I could go home now and say, you tell me, everything else is beautiful. I know home is my choice rather than I couldn't leave. And really? I don't know what else is out there.
Wow, that's really, that's a great story. I love that.
Yeah,
because we do need to know where our home is, and
and I'm choosing
be able to choose it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So when did you get your call to the priesthood, and how did that happen?
The first stop was 28.
Okay.
In Southern California, and
you were 28 years old, not 1928, right?
Oh, punny girl. Yes, I was at that March Air Force Base, and teaching high school catechism. And I was going to teach a lesson next month on prayer next week. And I wasn't praying. I was praying 26 seconds that, oh my God, I offer you my morning prayer,
Oh, sure.
26 seconds. That was my prayer every day. And I thought, I don't think that's enough to teach a class on prayer because you have no credibility.
Right.
So in panic, I went to the sister who ran the religious ed program, and she knew me well. She was God's agent or angel, whatever you want to call it. And she said, "Do you pray silently, meditative prayer?" And I said, "Now that's a big word for me. Just okay. Shut up and listen." Oh, okay.
Oh, that makes more sense.
And she said, "I'll bet when you pray, you talk too much. Do you ever listen to God?" And I said, honest to God, I said, I never knew that was an option or would be good.
Right.
I don't think a lot of people just.
I think you're right.
Here's my rosary, here's my this, and here's my that. And it was just divine. She said, "I'm going to give you an assignment. You promise me now. You're going to do it 10 minutes a day, ask one question, and be silent for 10 minutes. Everybody in the world should do this. And the question is, God, what do you want me to do with my life?" She
That's
said,
a scary question, too,
do you think
isn't it?
God knows? Yeah. Well, but this is Southern California. There's a lot of crazy people there. And God's getting, oh my God, there's smog, and oh my God, it's crazy, and traffic. And I did that. I promised. About 3 weeks later, the thought of priesthood came, like light. It didn't scare me because I thought a good little Catholic boy who gave it up, so to speak, and not going to church and not going to confession, I thought that disqualified me.
Right.
And I think a lot of people do.
Yep.
And the priest along the way was journeying with me, when I told him, and he said, read the story of Moses, David, Paul, and Peter. Murder, adultery, deny your best friend. He said there's a lot of room at the top. Which is what I needed.
Yep.
And then I stayed with it, and then it was like, if you want this to be, then you make it more comfortable. And I'll be darned, it did.
Wow.
But there were 3 things impossible, only not even God could do. I guess I was wrong. And one was I bought a house. Another guy I bought him out. And he had to sell a home, and the market was terrible in California. It was upside down. And I thought I'd have to foreclose the house, which I didn't know what that was.
Right.
Didn't know much about money. And a lady in the parish said, well, let's put it on the market. and we'll see if it sells. It wouldn't. Well, a week later it sold, and I'm thinking, I don't want that answer. I want to hear no. And the second one was impossible. I went to graduate school in the Air Force, and you owe them 3 months for every month. I owed 2 more years, and well, you could get a waiver, take it up to the general. And I thought he'd say, little boy, go to work, And he signed it, and he said, I wish one of my boys would go. And he said, well, they go, I'll stay here. Because I love the year. I love managing people. I was managing from 40 to 100 people. And the last one was, I've always been gifted with friends. And I hadn't told them. It was the first time in my life it wasn't, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think?
Right.
And I sat them down. I wanted to put the little gymnastic masks out because they would fall off and hurt their head, Good friends. And I said, I believe, and I can always say this was God's call. And I told him it was stone silent, and I could not read one expression.
Wow.
And one said, we could see it coming. We knew.
And I bet that was a surprise to you.
And it was such a relief to say, I'm not like way off. And so I didn't know how long seminary was.
Right.
I had a couple of master's degrees by then, and I thought, well, because I never talked
I only need like 2 more years, right?
No, I thought like 6 months.
Oh, geez.
Give me a collar, teach me to say math. They don't look that sharp anyway, And they said 5 years, and I thought, for what? And the priest said, go try it. You can always, I didn't know you could leave and come back to the year. He said, your slot's open, and go try it. And I went 1 year to Winona, Minnesota for philosophy, wonderful school. Then 4 years in the Mount St. Mary's, Emmitsburg, Maryland, and it was been 34 years later.
Right.
I'll be 35 in May.
Right. Because you were ordained when?
87, with Father Paul Jolston. He's my classmate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. So did you have some fear about becoming a priest? Or was it pretty smooth sailing?
No, a lot of fear.
Okay.
I could be holy in spurts.
I think we're all, and maybe even tiny little spurts.
And about the second month of seminary, they said, if you're a priest, assume the camera is always rolling.
True. Which it is right now, too.
Yeah, and you say something, they said, if you're going to be stupid, at least go 500 miles from home. And it's, which is not a bad thing when you say, I should be watched and be able to be on TV tonight.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, and so it got a little more comfortable, and then I thought, yeah, I think this is of God.
Right.
And then I stayed, and so it's been a great thing.
Good. Do you remember, your ordination wasn't that long ago, so was there something from your ordination that really still stands out to you today?
Well, yes and no, but there's more to it than I realized, and I was in my seventh semester of theology, so I had a semester and a half to go. And biggest crisis of my life, my sister died, Mary, having a baby.
Oh.
Blood vessel ruptured, Mary's brain dead, C-section of the baby, a bit of a stroke, and come home, I'm in Maryland, and brain dead, pulled the plug, harvested organs, and so the funeral was in the cities where they were living, her and her husband. And it was awful.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if I could work for a God that would do that. Because we prayed 1 billion rosaries. I'm a salesman. And it's like, take this job and shove it, And if you've ever been there, that's a real thing. That's not a bad thing to say.
Right.
So I'm back to the seminary, and I cried every day for months.
Sure.
And good buddies helped me out and just wait for this. And it was like, wow. But there was enough to be ordained.
Right.
And here's where good comes out of bad. And I thought, good comes out of bad. Whatever is going to be good about, because the same sister was in a wreck at 60 and was in a wheelchair. Now that's just way too much. And watching mom and dad lose a kid,
Yeah.
So speaking of ordination, I remember when I was walking down the aisle, which seemed like about a half a mile, certain I needed to be there by God's grace only, and and I'm thinking, a year ago, I would have been walking down this aisle really proud, believing I'm probably going to be the best priest ever.
Right.
And because I had gobs of managed 40 to 100 people, doing really good at it, blessed with a great family. And that was not me walking down the aisle then. Because of, as I was crying and praying, can I serve God? It was like, finally one day I said, about 3 months, I said, I have to quit. I have to quit. I'm not quit praying. I have to quit expecting God to answer all my prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people have been there unless there's been a death or a crisis in the family or all those. And I'm thinking, I quit. I can't work believing God owes us. It's the story of Job all over.
Right.
Read the story. And it's like, so something changed, and I thought, I will never tell anybody I could fix it.
Right.
Only because God wasn't going to fix it, and he's God.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell people all the time, I will meet you where you are. I will be with you. And there's enough love in a dead soul, whatever you want to call it, to get you through that. Mm-hmm. That would have never happened without this. And I didn't realize what I just said till about a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've held on to that to a certain extent.
Yeah. It was a little bit less than you were trust God and all. So that was just a huge. And it's so awesome being a priest. I don't know what to fix people.
Right.
I mean, that's just, people say that's giving up. No. That's not giving up for nothing. That's just, God, you're first. And, it's like you spank your kid, whatever you do, and they crawl up in your lap and they want you to hug them. Mm-hmm. Well, that's just illogical. But that's what it was. I'm going to be with you because I've tried the other options.
Right. It didn't work out so good.
No, it was me, and I can't remember where my car is.
What's been the biggest blessing of your priesthood so far?
Oh, it's the people I get to work with. Mm-hmm. It just, somebody said the other day, what's been your favorite parish?
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy.
Because I've been
lots of people are tuning in right now.
I started at Christ the King in Sioux Falls, then a vocation director for 2 years, lived at Cathedral, 3 months in Huron, filling in, and then 7.5 years at Aberdeen, Roncalli, and a parish, and then St. Michael here in Sioux Falls, and then helped start
St.
Catholic Drexel, and now 8 years down at the Dunes, Elk Point, Jefferson Dunes. And this is not bowing out. My favorite place is always where I am.
Right.
Because that's the joy.
Yep.
And I've received the gift of joy years and years, because I'm going to be all in, but I'm not going to work 24 hours a day, and I'm going to take my day off. And about 10 years ago, I was overweight and eating garbage and not working out. And I said, and my dad died of a heart attack, and my grandpa died, and I thought, by the grace of God, I lost some weight. I exercise regularly, and we have something to do with our stability. Yep. And so I love people. I love youth work.
Yes,
I love
have heard
confession.
that about you.
Yeah, we've got a great discipleship program down the road. And,
yeah, that's really great.
Yeah. So,
if a young man or even a 28-year-old man came to you and said, I think I might be hearing a call to priesthood, what would you tell them?
Tell me where that comes from. Tell me your background. And eventually say, there's visits to the seminary. Because I've helped a lot of people go look at the seminary. And I say, when they go and they say, what did you learn? They can have fun. They can laugh. They're not praying all day.
Right.
It's like, well, who told you that? I just thought so. So if you want to be a vet, go to a vet and follow them.
Right.
And if you want to be a priest, go look at the seminary. And they all come back just surprises.
Right.
I love working with seminarians. I love having moved to our place and hanging out and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I could see you as a good mentor for them, I bet.
Yeah.
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 What can the people of the diocese do for you to make your priesthood better, you better? I don't know if it's possible for you to be better, is it?
Well, yeah. Invite your priest to supper.
Yes.
People don't, so I just say, how about supper tomorrow? How about supper this week? I just invite myself, and it's just the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I said, why didn't you ever invite anybody? Oh, we didn't think you'd have time. And I said, well, so I invite myself, and it's like, there's
why
joy.
not?
Well, yeah. And somebody said, what if they say no? I'll ask somebody else.
Well, yes. And, if you invite your priest to supper, he will almost never say no.
Yeah,
at least
or
not
you'll
in my
say I'm busy
experience.
that night.
Yeah. It might be a different night, but they like to go out and be with people, and at least most of them do.
Yep. Yeah.
I actually, Father Morgan was our priest at Holy Spirit for 10 years, and we invited him over for supper one time, And we have a cat, and our cat like got up on his head, like literally. And poor Father Morgan's like, "What do? I don't know what to do." The cat's on his head. We have a weird cat.
Yeah, I would have been a little.
You just never know what'll happen when you invite your priest over to your house, right?
Clawed my head or something. Yeah. No, it's been an incredible life.
Good.
Well, you couldn't have predicted it, and there's challenges, suicide funerals or
Sure.
my baby died, and
Right.
that's when you really lean on God and lean on other people and call. I'm in 2 different support groups for priests, and
Sure.
I will never be without
Yeah.
buddies.
I was gonna say that's got to be super helpful,
Yeah, nobody knows like a priest like a priest.
right?
And we got a wonderful bishop and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff. And
he's okay.
yeah,
We'll keep him.
he's coming around.
He would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
All right, Father Vogel, we are out of time. I so appreciate you coming in and telling us your story. It was a good story. You did not lie in that spot this time.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. All right. You can find us at our website anytime at sfcatholic.org. If you want to find these shows there, you can do that. And you can also find things like Mass times, priest information, so if you need to contact them. That is it for us today. Hope you'll join us again next week for more Catholic Views.